I know.
This meeting of the Board of Education is now called to order. Please join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Trustee Noveri sends her regrets this evening, and Trustee Keith Kroll is going to be our acting secretary this evening. The first thing we need to do is approve our agenda. On page 2, there's a motion. Are there any changes to the agenda as printed?
No, nothing from me, sorry.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the agenda as printed.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, sir. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. We'll proceed with our agenda and start with the superintendent's report.
We have 3 items scheduled for this evening. The first is a bond project update that Johnny Edwards will provide.
Thank you, Superintendent Beeland. Wanted to share just a few photos or images of our bond project update and a brief summary. Portage Central, you can see this is a picture of a classroom. They've started to prime many of the spaces inside of the school. So this is a classroom. This is just the first coat of a classroom coming into fruition. Lots of drywall on the first floor at Central L. Almost the entire first floor learning communities are completely drywall. This is the exterior of the main office. This is the administrative suite, and they're still putting brick veneer on the school, but the exterior of the brick is almost complete, and we're happy to report we have windows going in. So the windows on the north side where the learning communities are being installed at this moment. And you can see how there's different color brick choices near the windows. So this is an elementary education center school. We wanted to add a little color and flavor for our younger learners. Then going over to Haverhill. Haverhill, they have begun some drywalling on the first floor. Just yet, and it's not quite as complete with the drywall as Central L is. As you can see, here is an outlook of one of the classroom spaces, and the windows are going in. And those corner windows that you see is a really nice feature that both schools have. The exterior brick is coming along well, and you can see the brick choices there, black, and then it moves up to like a gray, and then the upper level has a different pattern of brick, and so that's coming along well. This is a second floor area. The second floor at Haverhill is almost completely framed in terms of all of the classroom spaces and the learning areas at the second level. Not quite as much as in terms of percentage that Central L is, but it's well on its way. Here, you're looking out facing south on the Haverhill site. This is where the bus loop starts to come into play off Coulter Avenue, and staff parking will be here as well. So they're laying the groundwork for the bus loop at Haverhill, which is pretty cool. Those are all of my pictures. As is just a recap that drywall is pretty much complete. The first floor of Central L. It has started at Haverhill, and they'll be moving to the drywall at the second floor of Central L as late as this week. Moving over to Woodland, we're now wrapped up in our construction document phase. That information is being sent over to OAK. Then from there, OAK will start to put the information out to bid. We're not quite out to bid just yet. But we do hope to go out to bid pretty quickly, pretty soon, so we can have bids back before winter break, and then after winter break in January, we'll start to bring some recommendations to the board for the Woodland Elementary project. That concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to answer any questions about our bond projects.
Looks great.
It looks good. It's really exciting. Particularly, I'm in there more often than others, but when others come through that haven't gone in for several weeks or months, they can definitely see the transformation. So it's pretty cool.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks, Johnny. Our next report is our financial report, and Paula Johnston will give an overview of that.
Good evening, Board of Ed and Superintendent Beeling. Included in your board packet was our financial report through the end of October. This represents 4 months of our fiscal year. There's not a lot of exciting information to report. Local revenue is up compared to last year, and that's because property tax values have changed. So, as you know, state aid supplements what we don't receive in property tax revenue, so that's how that works. Our state revenue is up, and that's due to the same explanation that from September. We had carryover state revenue categoricals in section 31A, 31AA, and section 97 that we are now spending down in this school year, so that looks higher. Moving down to expenditures and other support services, it's coming in higher than last year due to some software subscription costs being higher than last year. Moving down a little bit further into community services, costs are down there compared to last year due to an employment leave that we've experienced this year. And childcare services are lower than last year due to staffing changes that we haven't encountered in that area. On the second page of the report is by object code, and it's just basically just about the same explanation that I gave last month. The capital outlay still outpaces slightly from last year, and that is the secure entryway projects that we're doing with the grant-related funds we received through section 97 and 31AA. That's causing that to come in higher. And just a general update for the board, we finalized our MSDS file for count last week, Wednesday. And we had budgeted to be down approximately 96 students for this year's budget, and back in June when I brought the preliminary budget to the board. We're not going to be down quite that many. Actually, right now, unaudited numbers, and net has not received any changes for Section 25 adjustments when pupils leave in between count periods. Right now, we are 88.6 students higher than what I built the preliminary budget on, but that can still change between now and February. So, as of right now, my projection was too low. So, any other questions?
Always the cautious one, Paula. That's good. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks for your report. The third of the year is already over.
And our third report is to give the board an update on some of the work we've been doing around our district identity and our branding. And Michelle Karpinski will be introducing that this evening.
Yeah, so as you recall, probably a little more than a year and a half ago, we did the communications audit. And so we've been plugging away at different things that were recommended as part of that, the website, the app, some of those things, a lot of social media we've been doing. But one of the bigger items in that was really, he questioned, how did Portage know its own identity? Which leads into branding. And of course, branding is much bigger than just a logo, but the logo becomes the kind of outward manifestation of who we are and what we believe in. So it was time to take that project on, and you all, with your blessing, we've moved forward with that and have brought in Rick Chambers. You all probably know him. He's been my partner in crime in the last bond bond campaign and has done some other things for the districts over the years. So we brought him in, Rick Chambers and Associates, Strategic Communications, to help us really dig into the branding. And so we wanted to, we'll be going through this in some stages, so we wanted to bring you kind of the first part of that this evening. So I will turn that over to Rick.
Thank you very much. Been great, always great to work with Michelle and with Mark and with the staff. Really proud of Portage Public Schools. And thank you for the great introduction. I will add just a couple of things for those of you that don't know me. I grew up in this area. I actually grew up in Kalamazoo, but I've spent way more than half of my years on earth living here in Portage. My kids went to Portage schools and graduated. Kept trying to bring them back for my grandkids to be here. It wasn't quite that successful, but we'll keep working on that. But I love living here, and I love this district, and I love everything it stands for. And so when I had the opportunity to come and talk a little bit about the brand and the reputation and the identity of the district and help sort of develop what's the next step in that brand, I was really excited about it. So as Michelle mentioned, this is more than just, what's the logo look like, but more about what does that logo represent when you talk about visual brand, and what do you want people to know and understand about the district, and how do you feel about the district when you're thinking about it, when you're interacting with people? How do our students, staff, all of those folks feel? And just how is that reflected in things like taglines and advertising and fonts and visual identity and that sort of thing. So this is really about looking at the brand for the district, and I think it's really important to underscore the fact, I'm sure you all are aware of this, we're not talking about changing names of schools and colors and mascots and that sort of thing. This is really about the district as a whole. So I've been working with Green Street Marketing and Design. It's a Kalamazoo-based graphics firm who has a lot of experience in rebranding and so forth, and so we've been had them as part of this project too. So what we did was, when you do a rebranding project, you usually have to do a lot of legwork, a lot of audits and surveys and focus groups and all that kind of thing. Well, the beauty of it is you all had done that already. Over the last few years, and this is a list of the many, many different documents that we spent the summer and part of the fall going through, trying to glean what were the themes of all these different stakeholders when they think about Portage Public Schools. And so you can see there's a lot of stuff we spent time on, and everything from objective data to individual comments, all these different stakeholders, and doing sort of a collective analysis on this. And here are some of the key findings that we came up with as a result of that analysis. One is, and this is really important, is student success, either verbatim or in essence or both, is really the theme that stands high and visible among all the different feedback that we were able to look at. There are a lot of different themes, a lot of things that were raised, but they all seem to connect back to this idea of student success. So that is, we're talking about academic excellence, we're talking about, quality of instruction, we're talking about the experience that students have when they're going through the school system and so forth, collective achievement. Really every component of what we talk about in a school system, it ties into this theme that we got from all of these stakeholder feedbacks, which is student success. Now, that probably doesn't come as a huge surprise, because if you don't have student success, you probably don't have a school district for very long. But that's what people really care about. And all the, like I said, all the other pieces that came out of that, sort of the smaller themes that came out, all tied back to how are we making sure our students are successful. And so the next finding really is about how do we articulate that in a way that's meaningful and inspiring and really sort of lifts up that whole idea of student success. And this is where, once again, you all had the language already in existence for us. Every student, every future perfectly embodies that idea of student success as a theme and resonates with the stakeholders as a tagline. Now, where did we get that? If you walk around the administration building, you've probably seen the strategic commitments of the district. And the different pillars, strategic pillars that exist. And student success is, in fact, one of those pillars. It also is a phrase that shows up in two of the other pillars and, in essence, in the other one. So again, student success is tied to all of this language and all of this feedback. And this idea of every student, every future actually appears on that same document as part of one of two, what I might call conflicting visions for the district, and I'll explain that in a minute. This phrase, every student, every future, when the Studer folks were talking to different stakeholders as part of their exercise, they actually utilized that term and got very positive feedback for it. So when we talk about the theme of student success, when we talk about the idea of every student, every future, all of those things really resonate with the folks. And that, and if I won't read all of this right now, but this really kind of explains how that resonates and how that fits with the theme. The fact that every can talk about the individual or the collective, right? Student giving a human face and personality and life to the idea of what that theme and what this phrase represents. And future being, you know, the individual path that a student may follow, or the collective path that we all hope our students come out and go out and really impact society, our community and our society for good. So all of that phrase, again, just really underscores this idea of student success. And then the third thing we came up with is this idea of the sense of that Portage really needs to have a clear, consistent vision statement that reflects the brand and the priorities. Right now, it appears like there's two of them. And I'll show you what I mean. This is from that same strategy document. And I pulled both of these off of there. One, of course, specifically says it's a vision. And there's nothing wrong with these. Let me be clear. There's nothing wrong with these statements at all. But what we find is that they're just slightly different, and it's not clear that they need to be. You've got the first one, which is a very strong statement, but doesn't have that same sort of every student, every future reference that we talk about at all. In fact, there's no reference to human beings unless you use the word all as referencing to that. And then the second one on that same document, which is talking about a community grounded in fostering strengths, growth, and lifelong learning. Again, every student, every future, that crystallizes that. And what we were suggesting really is these three recommendations. One is that student success be the brand focus. So that becomes the theme of what this district stands for. Again, that incorporates all the things, your mission, your strategic priorities, what stakeholders both value and expect from the district. And the second is every student, every future is the way that we articulate that idea around student success. That becomes, in essence, the PPS tagline. So that best represents the theme and the focus. It's simple, it's memorable, and the beauty of this is it's timeless, because you can use that for as long as you want to use it. And, you know, even if you go through any sort of change as a district in the future, whatever the future brings, every student, every future is still going to make a lot of sense. And then consolidate those existing vision statements into something that's a single clear statement that uses elements of each of that, and then especially makes use of that every student, every future. And that connects all those aspirations and the mission and conveniently the brand together. So once we get through this exercise, that these recommendations move forward, hopefully with your blessing, then that guidance will direct us on the next stage of this exercise, which is actually generating a visual brand and identity that best reflects the whole idea of student success and that every student, every future. So that was a lot, and it was done very quickly. So at that point, I will just say, ask if you have any questions at all, anything I can clarify for you.
I like the way you dug into all those past studies and with the community and with staff, and I think that's great. That's a great background to develop your work, so thank you for doing that.
Absolutely, thank you. Thank you for having it done.
When we first brought up doing this, my thought was that focusing on Portage Public Schools being a place where every student can succeed. And you summarized it in fewer words, much better. Thank you.
Well, thank you. You all made it easy, so I appreciate that. Well, thank you again, and feel free to pass along any questions that you might have through Mark or Michelle, and I appreciate the opportunity.
Look at Michelle and Mark, is there a timeline that you're working under?
Yes and no. I mean, we'd like to have this, all the elements in place so that we can kick this off for next school year. And so I guess this is the first step in that journey of kind of doing a pulse check here of any opposition to us developing our future materials around this new tagline of every student, every future, because that's kind of where we're landing with this. And I don't know if it requires any kind of a formal vote, but certainly if there's any opposition to that, it'd be nice to know now so that we don't get down the road any further with this whole thing. I mean,
obviously, changing a brand over is, you know, there's a lot of detail to that. Obviously, we'll be changing the website, and so being able to have the summer to do all of those things so that we hit the ground running, you know, probably by August, makes it, you know, that's the urgency that we have. It's a kind of a self-imposed, but it also is a logical, you know, transition time. So, yeah, so we'd like to be able to, you know that at least for this piece, you know, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of what it all looks like. And I suspect there'll be a lot more conversation about that, but yeah.
I don't have a motion, but I vote I like it.
No opposition here.
just a nod of heads is fine with me.
All right, great. We will move forward with that head nod.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Rick. And I just want to mention, or Michelle actually began, she mentioned the fact that we had done this communications audit, and you know, the communications department has been busy implementing some of the recommendations, including this one, and that work has not gone unnoticed. The Michigan School Public Relations Association recognized the district in 3 different categories. One was on the website mobile app category for its redesign and online presence was one recognition. Another was in a special purpose category. It was the development of a guide to community relations at Portage Public Schools for staff members, so giving staff some guidelines for how to approach their community relations challenges and how to make that more consistent across the district. The third was in the social media category for superb subs at PPS, another program that was developed through that department. And then at the national level, the National School Communications Award, an honorable mention for publications and digital media awards, also for that guide to community relations for PPS staff. So congratulations on that recognition, Michelle, and your folks, and thanks for implementing those recommendations from that audit.
Yeah, thank you, Michelle. We should give her a hand.
That's all I have.
Very good. We're at our comments and communications section, and first of all, we have comments from citizens. I believe there's some citizens who would like to speak tonight. So we have a whole page full of rules, and I won't bother to read those. I'll just let everybody know the time limit is 3 minutes, and our first speaker this evening is Cap Frank. Welcome.
I did not get to print this in time, so I will email a copy to you to distribute out. So I'm back to share some awesome things that our colleagues have been up to for the past few weeks. At Community High School, teachers Angie Kirchman, Jen Treharn, and Andrea Ramsdell took a field trip to the Air Zoo with 3 of their classes, both art and math classes together. Everyone had a great time, and thank you to the Air Zoo for hosting them. At Angling Road, they are hosting a math night coming up on December 5th. It's being organized by Martha Bennis and Rochelle Gamble, with several other staff members who are volunteering to help out. The math teacher in me is very happy about this. Families will be invited to participate in math games and activities, and will even get to take home some activities to do with their kids to extend those learning opportunities. The Portage Northern Counseling Department, led by Amy DiMaggio, organized a semester career fair with over 180 students registered to learn about 30 different careers. And I have a long list of those, so including but not limited to aviation, tattoo artistry, pharmacy, excavating, Army ROTC, cybersecurity, and 911 dispatch. Students had a great experience, so thank you to Amy for organizing this opportunity for all of our students. Dennis Kozian shared that 3 8th grade band students were accepted into the Michigan Band and Orchestra Association All-State Band. So congratulations to those students. One plays flute, another clarinet, and the third one is trumpet. They'll be performing at the Michigan Music Conference in January. So congratulations to those kiddos and also to Dennis. And switching gears a little bit, as part of our contract, we, the PEA and PPS, have the opportunity to meet a few times a year to discuss contract opportunities. So our first meeting is tomorrow with that. So I look forward to chatting with Brad and Jen, and Katie Painich, our lead negotiator, will be coming to that too. So thank you for that opportunity. Thanks.
Thank you, Kat. When you were here last, you mentioned that partnership between Central Middle School and Friendship Village.
Yes.
And we toured the building and got to see those materials. That was really cool. So thanks for bringing that up. Our next speaker is Lindsay Zerber. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Lindsay Zerber, and I'm here to implore the board to thoughtfully evaluate the novel The Breadwinner at the upcoming appeal. I ask you to give it the proper evaluation that was denied by a committee made solely of PPS staff that have supported the curriculum from the beginning and only one community member. I recently found an article on Cache Lighthouse by Paige Turner that perfectly states what I and many other parents are pleading for, and I would like to share that with you now. It's titled, "It's Great, Except For." I saw an image once that left a lasting impression on me. It was a photo of a delicious-looking sundae, but right in the middle were the legs, arms, and head of a cockroach. The caption read, "It's great, except for..." The point was clear. Is your love for ice cream so much that you are actually going to eat around the cockroach? This image comes to mind in a conversation about books. I was told that if I were to read the whole book, the explicit and graphic parts would make sense, and I would understand the value of the book. I'm not convinced. If I can see the cockroach on a few pages or in a few paragraphs, why should I have to eat around those roachy parts to get to the supposed good content? I believe there are authors who can deliver the same messages without adding elements that are graphic or even traumatizing for kids. Kids are perceptive, compassionate, open-hearted, and curious. They can grasp big ideas and important themes without having to wade through graphic content. They understand more than we give them credit for and don't need to be enlightened by authors who get carried away with their descriptions. I understand that not all kids have the same circumstances, and some argue these books can help children process or understand tough situations. I believe just as strongly that there are authors and books out there that have the capability of reaching those kids without the smut. Not once has a therapist handed me a book filled with graphic details of others' trauma as a way to help me heal. Why? Because it compounds trauma. I don't need every detail of someone else's abuse to feel less alone. There are better, healthier ways. The idea that kids need graphic content to understand abuse or process trauma is a shallow and poor excuse to have this in a school. The harm from exposing kids to graphic content is real. It turns out more victims, and the irony is many don't even realize they've been victimized because they are being told it is normal and will help them gain empathy and understanding of other people. We don't need graphic content to teach kids big ideas, empathy, or resilience. Back to the analogy. In this case, the cockroach represents content that for many of us is more harmful than it is helpful. No amount of storytelling or symbolism justifies it being in books meant for younger consumers. Kids deserve books that bring them powerful lessons without forcing them to swallow something bitter and unsettling. Our kids deserve better. Let's choose books that build them up and teach them well. Strength and understanding does not come from shock value disguised as depth. Thank you.
And Lindsay, we have your comments?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Our next speaker is Bethany Metzger. Welcome.
Thank you.
Bethany Metzger, and I'm here to state my deep concern over the adoption of the fish tank curriculum. I'd like to start by quoting your own bylaw about adoption of textbooks. The Board of Education shall approve all textbooks used as a part of the educational program of this district. Textbook, for the purpose of this policy, shall mean the principal source of institutional material for any given course of study in whatever form the material may be presented, that is available or distributed to every student enrolled in the course. The superintendent shall be responsible for the selection and recommendation of textbooks for board consideration. In considering the approval of any proposed textbook, the board will weigh its decision based on recommendations related to suitability for the maturity level and educational accomplishment of the students who will be using the material, freedom from bias, relationship to the curriculum adopted by the board, relationship to a continuous multi-grade program, impact on community standards, manner of selection, cost, appearance, and durability. According to the research that we have done, the fish tank curriculum does not meet these standards. It is politically one-sided. This does not give the children the material necessary to form their own opinions and think for themselves. Much of the material is not suitable for the maturity level of the students being taught. Many of the books have been moved down to inappropriate grade levels, and if you ask most educators, they will respond that these children are in a trend of being less mature. This curriculum has not been around long enough to have a proven track record of accomplishing the goals that you are hoping to achieve within the school district by its adoption. It is only being used by 2 handfuls of schools in the entire country, a scant amount considering the nearly 98,000 public schools in our country. Fish Tank has not been properly vetted by you as a board, judging by the outcry against many of the books, such as A Splash of Red, The Life and Art of Horace Pippin, The Wild Book, The Breadwinner, and units in this curriculum like the 3rd grade Exploring Ancient Civilizations, the 8th grade Horror Unit, the 9th grade Me, Myself, and I, Examining Personal Identity in Short Texts. And that does not include the archived units that will likely be put into classrooms if this curriculum is not removed. It is also not properly vetted by your staff considering the 2 months from the time of introduction to it being brought before you to vote to purchase. You as a board are the ones who have the final approval of textbooks and curriculum choices. Trusting the experts doesn't mean that you blindly follow without doing your own research. You all have been voted onto this board to stand up for the rights of the students in the schools to have a proper and appropriate education. Fish Tank gives them neither. We ask that you reconsider this curriculum choice for the well-being of these children. Thank you.
Thank you, Bethany. Okay, we'll move to comments from trustees.
Well, Randy, I'll thank our public speakers tonight. I'll thank my colleagues for the extra time at 4 o'clock this afternoon, the extra meeting. And I think since we have met last, I know we had a tour at Angling Road, and thank Ms. Williamson for that tour. And I'm trying to think if we had another tour.
Central Middle.
Yeah, we had Central Middle. So, Nettie, for that tour, that was great too.
Thank you, Bo. Anyone else this evening? Well, I have a few things. First of all, I wanted to highlight the passing of Peg Whitcomb. Peg Whitcomb was a science teacher primarily at North Middle School for 40 years. She recently passed away. She's 94 years old. And, you know, she exhibited the best of Portage teachers. She was well-liked by her students and fellow teachers because of the charisma and enthusiasm that she brought to the classroom every day. She was an exceptional person. I just wanted to highlight that. And then building on your comment, we've concluded our school visits. And I just have to tell you that it's just an eye-opener to go in these buildings and see the accommodations we're making for students to make sure every student is successful. And it really plays into that every student, every future tagline that was discussed tonight. And then some fun stuff. I got to go to Jody Stoner's retirement at the bus garage. Jody was the transportation manager. And the highlight of that for me was the bus parade. They had all the buses circling the bus garage, flashers on, horns blaring, and it was a really nice send-off for Jody, who's done such a great job for the district. And finally, I want to remind everybody that bread lift at Portage Central was last Saturday, and bread lift for Portage Northern is this Saturday, so you need to remember that. That's all the comments I have. Anyone else? Okay, very good. We'll move to our consent agenda, and that's on page 7 this evening. Are there any exceptions to the consent agenda as presented? I ought to read what it is, don't you think?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. First is approval of minutes from the November 4th, 2024 Committee of the Whole work session and closed session. And then that we approve $503,481 for the replacement of a boiler at the Portage Community Education Center, and approve as part of this budget to award a contract in the amount of $249,400 to DHE Plumbing and Mechanical LLC. The total request amount of $503,481 will come from the Building and Site Sinking Fund. As you recall, we discussed that at our last work study. Are there any exceptions to this? Hearing none, the consent agenda is approved. And our next order of business is the required action items on page 20, which is the summer tax resolution, which is what we typically do, and we discussed at our last meeting. Is there a motion, please, on page 20?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the annual summer tax resolution that authorizes Portage Public Schools to continue its summer tax collections in 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Kimberly. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? This is a roll call vote, please, Barb.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Van Antwerp?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Ms. Larson?
Yes.
The resolution is approved. Thank you. We now move to our action item. The first one is the resolution authorizing sale of bonds. As you recall, we discussed this at our November 4th work study. There's a motion, please, on page 23.
President Van Antwerp, I'd like to make the motion that the Board of Education adopt the resolution authorizing 2025 school building and site bonds as presented.
Thank you. Is there a second?
I will second the motion.
Excellent. Any discussion?
I mean, just to underscore, it's a big amount. Discussed it all last month.
Right.
Yeah.
And we need it, and the voters approved it. So, Barbara, a roll call vote, please.
Ms. Larson?
Yes.
Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
Mr. Snyder?
Yes.
Mr. Van Antwerp?
Yes.
Mrs. Crawford?
Yes.
Mr. Kroll?
Yes.
Thank you, Barb. The resolution is approved. Our next action item is to approve the superintendent's contract. That's on page 42. Is there a motion, please?
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve as presented performance evaluation and compensation amendments, including addendum A, superintendent's salary schedule for the current contract of employment for the superintendent.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. This is something that we do annually, and it's all related to Board Governance Policy 4.5. The first provision, or the first change of the contract is to extend the term of the contract from the current date of June 30, 2026 to June 30, 2027, to increase the current tax sheltered annuity payment by 2.7%, increase to the base salary, which is consistent with salary actions previously approved by the board for the administrative group. So far this year, everybody's got a raise except Mark. And another requirement in the law this year is that a salary schedule be attached. The previous years in that salary schedule relate to what actually occurred, and we're required to have a provision with the future going out, but those future years can be changed. We're not locked into any of those. And finally, the revised school code also requires us to have arbitration provision in the performance evaluation language. So any questions or discussion?
say that given the most recent evaluation was highly effective, it seems only appropriate to approve the new contract.
Well, I agree with that, right?
Yeah, and, I mean, not too much speech making or embarrassment, but just, Mark, thank you very much for all that you do for this school district for the past 12-ish years.
This is the 12th.
This is the 12th. Many thanks.
Sorry, you're the last one to get a raise, but we're taking care of it.
Leaders eat last, right?
Yeah, right. No, very true. Thank you for all your work, Mark. We really appreciate you. All in favor of approving the superintendent's contract, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The contract is approved. Our next item is to set the superintendent's mid-year evaluation. Again, this is a new requirement from the state, and given that we're in a June to July sequence with our reviews, I'm proposing that we set December 9th as our review date for Mark, because we have to do it in December, and we only have one meeting in December. We're all good with that? So we have no motion here. Do we need to vote on this? I don't think so, do we?
No, as long as you're.
Yeah, we're all in agreement, December 9th. December 9th. All right, very good. And finally, our action item 4 is revision to policy 3.12, the superintendent evaluation. Is there a motion, please, on page 49?
Yes, President Van Antwerp will make the motion that the Board of Education approve the proposed revisions to policy 3.12, including the superintendent evaluation instruments as presented.
Thank you, Keith. Is there a second?
Second.
Very good. So as you go through this, the narrative for 3.12 was changed to include the new provisions that are required by law. That's the mid-year evaluation. And the evaluation instrument was modified, becomes a part of policy that is now consistent with our governance policy. And we also added the form for the mid-year progress report. So if we pass this, we're in line. Any discussion?
So the state has required a number of changes in how we do this year, and so this puts it into policy, and it seems relatively straightforward at a high level, but we'll go through it once, and if we need to tweak it next year, we'll tweak the policy and you know, roll with the punches that the state gives us.
There we go.
And it appears that this lines up with the standards as set forth by the new legal requirements.
Mm-hmm. Any other discussion? All those in favor of approving revisions to policy 3.12 superintendent evaluation, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? The motion passes. And all we have to do is listen now. And we'll go to our first discussion item, technology approvals for December.
And Dr. Ryan Miller is here to do
Dr. Ryan
that.
Miller, yeah.
All you have to do is listen. Right. Evening, trustees, Superintendent Beelang, ending the streak of not much from technology for the last couple months, so here we go. So just gave you a little preview of 3 major projects that you'll be seeing recommendations for very soon related to New Central L and New Haverhill. So you have the details here. Special thanks to Steve Van Dyke who's with me tonight, to Shane DeRitter, Corey Brasher, the team for their expertise on all of this. So this just kind of goes over a few things. 3 major projects, classroom technology. So similar to what you see in classrooms here currently, a flat panel TV on the wall, the nice furniture that wraps that in the new schools, and then similar capabilities to what the teachers have now. So a teacher desk that they can hook their Chromebook to, but they'll also have a computer that's hooked to it already. Lightspeed is the brand name of the microphone, which actually helps to amplify the teacher's voice, but does have some built-in emergency and paging capabilities as well. The first part will have 2 different recommendations. So one of those is that we know we can get guaranteed pricing that no one else can match, basically with our a REMC bid save and state contracts. The other part will be for the labor for the installation. The next RFP that is actually out already is about specifically the teacher desks. So we listened a lot to the new design with, you know, the teachers that were involved in that, all the folks that came together. Definitely wanted a smaller footprint of a desk. So if you've seen like the middle school desks or the teacher desks, they're quite large. And then it can accumulate a lot of stuff, all the things, right? So the teacher desk, they definitely wanted a smaller footprint, but with the same capability. So that is the new design with that. And then last would be just the video surveillance and security camera package for the two schools. And just kind of following the same theme of making sure that we cover all exterior areas, including the playground, which, you know, sees a lot of action, so you gotta take care of that. But also the secured vestibule, making sure you can see who's coming in and that. All of the buildings do have the ability to expand the camera coverage if needed. But we make sure that we kind of followed the same practice that we have with the other buildings, and that allows us to make sure our infrastructure, so servers, camera recorders, all the things that it takes behind the scenes to make it all work, and to actually be able to see the footage and review it when necessary to make sure that that all functions. So open that up for any discussion or questions that you might have, and then Steve's here if we get into the weeds on any questions that I want to call him in his backup for.
Just a quick side note, I was glad to see the teacher microphones.
Yeah.
Those are such a blessing to teachers to be able to be heard by all students without raising the energy level of the classroom.
There you go, yeah.
It helps.
And I think the added features with the paging and the emergency features are critical now that we have to, you know, have those kind of capabilities available. And so that's, we knew that was a key feature, and I'm excited about that. Steve, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, you know, as Dr. Miller said, you know, really, we worked really hard with a lot of our technology providers, Lightspeed Systems, with the microphone technologies. They actually approached us regarding this emergency alerting system. They've worked with us for probably over a decade, and they felt that we were really a good target candidate for one of their first systems of this. They deployed this in Hart Public Schools last year as a beta test, and that went very well there. So we're really excited to bring that as an offering here, and they're really stepping up to the plate to make sure that they're working with all of our other vendors that we're using to make sure that all that integration works great.
That's good.
Yeah. Does December approval give you ample time for?
Yeah, it does. And we might not have all three ready, but we wanted to prepare you just in case, because there's one December meeting that we, you know, so I would expect at least the teacher desk, possibly one of the others to go, but we're obviously trying to get the best pricing available, and so the sooner the better.
Great.
I like the height adjustable because I'm short, so those
Yeah, I like it too.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks, Steve.
Our last discussion item is purchase of buses. Johnny's going to help us with that.
Thank you, President Van Andrew. I recommend that the Board of Education approve the purchase of 3 77-passenger buses, 1 Lyft bus, and for the first time, 1 77-passenger bus with air conditioning from Holland Bus for a total of $729,924 to come from the 2019 Bond Fund Proposal Number 1, Unallocated Contingency. We typically replace upwards to 6 buses annually as we phase out aging buses. This is within our normal process as we evaluate our oldest or highest mileage buses that are beyond their life expectancy. And so in this case, we're looking at 5. As technology continues to improve, new buses will have front and rear cameras, stability control air disc brakes, and additional back stop signs to improve the experiences for our drivers and students. And because we're new now, we're asking for one bus to have air conditioning. Specifically, will be helping us with our summer transportation. We've gone through Michigan School Business officials, as we've done in the past, to get our best pricing. We've attached all documentation related to the purchase of the bus from Holland. And I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have for this bus purchase requisition.
I'm just astounded at how much they cost.
Yes, they've been hit with that inflation tag as well. And
Yellow paint.
so,
No, I remember probably 2 years ago for the same presentation asking on the horizon of electric.
yeah. So it's still there. We've done some exploration with the electric buses. There are mixed reviews out at this moment. Our transportation manager, who just retired, has a great bit of caution in terms of like the replacement of the battery long term, and also its trustworthiness in the winter conditions, in which the battery with heat takes up a little bit more energy. But yes, it's something that we constantly explore and trying to figure out when's the right opportunity for us to jump into it. We do know that also the electric buses are more expensive than a regular bus, and so the question becomes, it's good for the environment, but also what's our cost-benefit analysis of the long-term expenses of the EV versus a regular gas bus. But these buses we've been phasing out the diesel engines, so these would run off of our regular unleaded gas.
Yeah, appreciate you kind of keeping your eye on the electric vehicle buses and letting other districts learn the hard lessons. Right? When they've figured all that out, then, yeah, might be a better fit for us.
Initially, as I read the proposal, I questioned why only one air-conditioned bus, and then when I realized summer transportation, it made sense. So thank you for including that explanation in there.
And it's a nice premium for air conditioning, and you give up some storage capabilities as well. So this is our first time doing a bus with air conditioning, but the specific need was around us using that with summer. And if we get good reviews, as I anticipate, then if we can continue to afford to do those down the road one at a time, that'll help us, particularly in the summer.
I appreciate that you can provide transportation during summer school and credit recovery.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We've reached the end of our agenda. We are adjourned. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.